My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to talk about a fitness influencer and bodybuilder by the name of Sam Sulek. Now you might be thinking, like, why do I want to talk about this? So let me tell you. So number one, I've been doing bodybuilding since I was 11 years old. So I've been doing it for a lot of years. I'm 59 years old now. And throughout most of my life, I've made a living as a personal trainer. So I've been doing that for about, 35 years or so now. And I'm also a marriage and family therapist, so I'm very interested in the psychology of things. And in this instance, I'm super interested in the mass delusion that social media seems to bring. If you've watched any of my shows, you know that I've talked about this a lot, that in psychology, there are so many influencers that these people are young, and it's good to be young, I get that, but they don't have any experience, and most of them do not have a college degree, and they're not actually working in the field. But they say a lot of things, and they end up being a bigger influencer than psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists that I know. And to me, that's very interesting. I think it's also dangerous as well. And what I'm finding here, and I don't want to keep ripping on Sam Sulek, but he seems to be the most popular one. So you have to give him his just due. But him as an influencer, you have to ask yourself why. Like, does he have to have that much experience? Does he have that much education? And again, it surrounds it with just this mass delusion. So the big reason for doing this show today, too, is because it was last week that he came to Las Vegas and he won a show, which is very good. And so he's been getting even more popular, and people are following him. They want to see what he's going to do in his next show. And good for him. So let's give you some more details. Sam Sulek is 23 years old. He's a bodybuilder. He's got about, 6 million subscribers. He's a multimillionaire already based off of his YouTube channel. And he is arguably, if not the most popular, most famous, most influential bodybuilder in the world, which is really crazy to say because Arnold Schwarzenegger is still alive. You know, there are a lot of Mr. Olympias. They're still alive. And yet, Sam Sulek is a bigger influencer than those types of people. So I'm not going to show you his pictures. It's just unnecessary to do that. You can look them up yourself. So he looked good in his show. There's no doubt about it. And he won. So good for him. But a lot of the comments that I was reading about him, they just are so crazy. So let me read a few of these for you. It said, wow, it's amazing that he won and he didn't have a coach. So we're going to look at this a little bit later. Also, he is the Arnold Schwarzenegger of his generation. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Sam is an absolute legend. I just witnessed the greatest of all time. He works harder than everybody, so he deserves it. He's the most disciplined bodybuilder in the world. It's amazing that he could win a show so young at 23 years old. It's amazing that he could win at 23 when Jay Cutler didn't win until he was 33. All right, so let's take a look at some of these things. There's almost too much to mention, but let's take it from the top. So he competed in February 15th. Now, why would somebody do that? And I'm going to tell you these things, okay? Because I have a job. My money is not dependent upon my subscribers. I couldn't care less. I just want to put out good information, and I want to be known of being on the right side of things because I'm not going to just go along with mass delusion. If you're a bodybuilder and you've competed a long time, you know what I know, is that there's a reason why people want to compete in February. And it's because the average bodybuilder is going to train 3 to 4 months to get ready for that show. So if you do a show in February, what does that mean? It means that you're starting somewhere around October, early November to do a February show. What does that mean? It means that the amount of competition you're going to have is minimal because nobody that has a life, that has a family, that has a girlfriend or whatever, just a regular life, they don't want to go through, let's say, Halloween We can add Thanksgiving. They don't want to go through Christmas. They don't want to go through New Year's. They don't want to go through Valentine's Day. All of those holidays that are somehow centered around food and people getting together to have a good time, you're not going to be doing any of those because you're going to be dieting. And what would be the return on that? The return on ruining your life and not being social and not being able to really celebrate any of those holidays is the fact that you could trophy hunt in the first show of the year because you know nobody's going to really show up. The people who show up to those shows are people that typically are not successful in shows, or they're doing their first show, again, because they're trying to avoid the real competition. That's the way it is. So we picked a show in Las Vegas. And by the way, Las Vegas is a pretty tough place to compete. Now, back in the day, there used to be 2 major shows. They don't move to 3. But no matter how you look at it, there was a show in the fall and maybe 1 or 2 shows in the spring. And that gave everybody a tremendous amount of time to train for a show. And everybody came in there and they were top notch. I could tell you multiple times that I've done these types of shows. And I could tell you, it was not unusual to have somewhere between 20 to 30 bodybuilders in each group. So Sam Sulek won. But how many people did he beat? Well, there were like 4 people in his class. Okay, but at least he beat them, but that's good. But they give out trophies to the top 5. And this is what happens now. We live in a generation where everybody wants a trophy. So instead of having 2 to 3 major shows per year in a state like Nevada, we have a show here every month. So just pick one and make sure it's small so nobody shows up. And there's a really good possibility you're going to get a trophy. Over and over and over again, I've heard people tell me, oh, they came in 2nd place, they came in 3rd place. And then when you look and you find out that there were only 2 or 3 people in their class. Now, to be clear, I've been an NPC bodybuilding judge for over 10 years. I'm not anymore. So it's not like I don't go to these shows, and it's not that I don't know. I judge. I know what's going on here. You know what the good shows are, and you know what the shows where the people are just not as good. So he picked the easiest show possible. By the way, it's at the Alexis Park. The only reason why people go to Alexis Park is to buy drugs, or to see if you can get through there without getting shot or assaulted in some way. Like, it's the worst area of town, and it's the worst place. You know, we used to have shows at the Pearl and the Hard Rock and these types of things. This is not that. This is as low level as it can get. So let's just call it what it is. And did he win a bodybuilding show? Technically. No, he did not. He did classic physique, which is an offshoot of bodybuilding, but again, it waters it down and it cuts it in half. Because again, like, if you're in classic physique, you should be doing bodybuilding. And you can name any excuse you want that they're so used to that there's both classes now, but there really shouldn't be 2 classes. If a judge really knows what they're looking at, they can judge size up against symmetry, up against proportion, up against overall aesthetics. They should be able to do this. So the fact that they added another class, it just makes it so everybody can get a trophy. And again, he didn't compete in the top area. The top one would be bodybuilding. He didn't do that. Again, classic physique. So if we're going to call him the Arnold Schwarzenegger of his generation, just mass delusion. Okay. So let's get into this a little bit more. So the one that really stands out is that it's amazing that he won at 23 years old because Jay Cutler didn't win until he was 33. Okay, let's call this as it is. If you don't know, Jay Cutler has won the Mr. Olympia 4 times. One of the greatest bodybuilders who ever lived. So when they say Jay won at 33, they're saying that he won his first Mr. Olympia at 33 years old. Again, it's the top ultimate championship in the world. You can't compare Sam Sulek winning a low-level show with no people in it, and he didn't even do bodybuilding. Like, how is this possible that we're comparing the 2? And by the way, Jay didn't first win when he was 33. He won as a teenager. He won the Teenage America. Like, he won many shows before he won the Olympia. Like, it doesn't make any sense of what these people are saying. Again, a complete mass delusion. And when you get all these people that are delusional, and they all follow the same person. Again, this guy makes, I don't even know how much money, but they say he's worth somewhere between, I don't know, around $3 million at 23 years old. And all these people that are influenced by him are just, again, like, what are you looking at? To make a comment like that means you know nothing about bodybuilding. Let's continue. Again, it's amazing that he won at 23. How did that happen? It's so young. Okay, but Arnold Schwarzenegger won the Mr. Olympia at 23 years old and continued to win up until he was 28, and then he retired. And so, but we're going to talk about Sam Sulek winning a nothing show when he didn't even do the bodybuilding section of the show. And so 23 is not really all that young when you think about it. And I'm going to tell you why it's not that young as well. It's because he is on a lot of steroids. And so that microwaves the situation. It fast forwards it to an incredible degree. Now, if somebody's natural and at 23, you could say that they're young because they still are, they're trying to get better, and it takes a long time to get better when you're natural. But when you're on a lot of drugs, it's not the same thing. You can't use that excuse that you're young, especially when you've been taking drugs since you were a teenager. It's not a fair comparison. Let's see, then the comments. He works harder than everybody. He's the most disciplined. Let's take a look at this, okay? Because you live in a world where there's a gym on every corner. Okay, that's number one that people don't consider. The fact that you can get protein drinks, protein bars, when you diet now, you can use an app and it counts calories for you. Like all of these little things that these people that are subscribing to this, they don't seem to understand. And the fact is that he is a multimillionaire and he works out for a living and he just records a little bit. So he doesn't have a job. So let's put a little perspective into this, just in case people are so influenced by him, they think this is the way to go. So I competed in my first show when I was 16 years old. I didn't do very well. The second time around, though, I was 17. I was still in high school. So you want to talk about working hard? Listen, every bodybuilder works hard. They all do. They all train hard. They all diet hard. But to make it a little bit more personal, so you know what I'm talking about here, at 17 years old, I didn't have a car. So I had to take a bus to the gym every day, okay, to and from. And not only that, I had to pass my high school classes. And there wasn't a lot of information. There was no YouTube. You had to make up your diet. You had to try to figure it out. So is he that disciplined? Is he working that hard compared to that? I'll give you another one. So around when I was 23 years old, training for shows, I was also getting my degree in exercise physiology. So now when you look at this guy, you go, well, what does he know? Well, he's just working out and taking drugs and eating. Okay, I got it. But what about actual information? What about knowing the body? Does he have a degree in exercise physiology? No, he does not. There are other times within my lifespan that not only have I was training for a show, but I had a full-time job and I was raising a family. How about that? Or some areas of my life where I would have a job, then I was in the middle of an internship, and I was running a radio show at the same time. So this thought, maybe it's the work ethic of young people not understanding, but you're looking at these false idols here that they're so amazing and they work so hard and they're so incredibly successful, when in fact, again, it's mass delusion. What other things can I look at here? The fact that he didn't have a coach. Listen, this is because we live in a day and age where a lot of younger people are living in complete anxiety. They don't know what to do because they just don't have the ability to make decisions for themselves. So they want to put it on everybody else. Everybody needs a coach. That garbage isn't true. What do you think? Back in the day, like all these people had coaches? Like I didn't have a coach. I mean, I was able to go to a gym and ask a question here or there, but it's not like I had a coach. You think Arnold Schwarzenegger had a coach? Like, this is just stupid. You know, where, again, it's mass delusion. Let's see, what are the comments here that are ridiculous? Yeah, he's the greatest of all time. He still hasn't really won a bodybuilding show yet, though. So what's my point here? My point here is that he's doing a good job in terms of making money. If you want to look up to him because of his money. He's definitely doing well there. But again, we live in this very strange world where we give fortune and fame to people that should they be there? Should they be up on that pedestal? Because as far as I know, he still hasn't won a real show yet. And even if he did, he's been taking drugs for a bunch of years. It's not that he's that young either. And what's also worth talking about here is that when you do look at him, he has a lot of cystic acne, which is a problem. So at 23 years old, he's already running into problems with his drugs. And when he is speaking, it sounds like he's having trouble breathing. So I don't know what his blood pressure is, but he needs to get something checked because he doesn't seem that he's very healthy. He doesn't sound healthy. His skin doesn't look healthy. And I'm not doing this to rip on him, and he couldn't care less who I am, and he shouldn't. But the point is that he really should be able to really get some blood tests and get himself checked out. And all of these people, these millions of people holding him up like he's better than Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler is just, it's just a cancer of our society. Again, putting people in positions of power where they shouldn't be. So my name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.